We're doing it live.
Hey.
We saw the Snowman.
We did. We saw the Snowman. Of all the bad movies that came out this weekend, which were quite a few, this was the one that was the most talked about. It was the one that was by far the most requested. It was trending on Twitter, going like, is this already the worst film of 2017? So I couldn't wait to go see this fucking movie, to be perfectly honest.
I was telling Brad ahead of time, I was surprised that he sent me to this one, because usually like the scary ones are for Brian, but we've seen this preview so many times that I'm glad that I was picked for it.
And Brian and I are at more like, okay, this Thursday Brian and I are going to be at Jigsaw. That makes perfect sense.
I want to see Jigsaw. I guess this is less like a horror movie, more like a thriller, because from the preview it made it look like you were going to see all the limbs and bits getting cut off, but it was all done like behind some guy's back, or like you hear like wang shing, and then there'd be like a finger.
If you want to know what this movie is about, I don't know.
It's about a snowman.
Was it?
Yeah, it's about a snowman who misses his mommy.
This movie was mesmerizing. It was... I'm almost kind of at a loss for words, because like, sitting there in this 2-hour movie, I suddenly forgot how movies work. And I say that, but at the same time, this movie confused me so much and left me jaw-dropped and bewildered. But at the same time, I don't think the movie is irredeemably bad. I think a talented editor could probably take this 2-hour movie and maybe not make something good, but fix it a little bit.
Yeah, well, like, they could either, like, for example, that girl with the short black hair who just disappeared off the face of the planet, they could either tell us who the fuck that lady was and what her deal was, or just cut her out of the movie completely, because there was a lot of, like, half stuff like
you know
that.
Why? Did you read about this?
Yeah.
Like, the direct...
I tried not to read as much as I could.
So did I, but I do know this. To the extent I don't know, but I think it was the director or somebody involved with this movie came out and said, if stuff in this movie doesn't make sense to you, it's because I couldn't shoot the whole movie. And there are so many times where you can tell, because characters will just randomly find out stuff, be at a completely different location. Parts will be missing. Like, Michael Fassbender will be standing there, a millisecond later he's passed out in the middle of the street, and then he's somewhere else entirely. There are so many parts where it's doing that, and to the point to where this movie has a lot of really good actors in it. It's got Michael Fassbender, Rebecca Ferguson, J.K. Simmons is in this. Toby Jones is in this movie.
For no reason. Again, disappears off the face of the planet.
And they are all acting in a movie that I'm not sure I'm watching.
Because like there were parts where I was thinking, well, maybe this is like a stylistic choice, you know, maybe they're jumping around to like lend to the sense of unease, but then like the ending happened, I'm like, oh no. They just ran out of stuff.
The killer in this movie, this is one of those movies where the killer is doing things just for the audience. Like, there's no way anyone would see... Any character in the movie would see certain snowmen he's putting up, certain faces on parts of snowmen, certain appendages that he's nailing to things. No one in this movie would ever see it or discover it. It is just there for the camera to see it.
My favorite snowman out of all the snowmen in this movie is there's a part where we've already seen several snowmen. And so we're painting on the street and you see the snowman and you're like, that's not a snowman though, because it's got 3 balls and also his face is all wrong. But then it like pans around to the other side. It turns out that it is one of those snowmen.
That's exactly what that's what I was thinking in my head. And it does this through the movie. It is randomly edited. Like, 2 people will be having a conversation and it'll just cut to a snowman. Or
I'm here too, you guys.
Or like anything else, really. Like the opening scene of this movie like, is confounding. The opening scene of this film feels like it was 7 different people. One guy wrote a page, gave it to another guy, who gave it to another guy, and they didn't really communicate much.
So, okay, wait, are you talking about, like, when the little boy and his mom are, like, out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah,
okay.
that whole sequence. Because it was... If you take different minute, like, 30 seconds, let's say, for the sake of argument, it's a 4-minute scene. And if you take 30 seconds of each of that, maybe, like, isolated in and of itself, it would seem like it would make sense or whatever. But strung together, I was sitting there going, like, what is this? Are they just making shit up as they go along? Because it's the kid and his mom in the house, the old cop comes over, and he's quizzing the kid, and when the kid gets one wrong,
like punches
the mom, and then the kid goes outside to make a snowman. Him and the mom go upstairs and fuck, and the kid is looking through the window at this. The mom sees this and then says to him, I'm gonna
tell your wife that he's really your son.
And then he goes, well, then I'm not coming around here anymore, which I don't see why that's a bad fucking thing. Sorry, you're not going to have me to punch you anymore. So, and then...
So she drives out after him.
Yeah, well, yeah, she and the son... He drives away, and the kid's like, no, come back.
So you can punch my mom some more.
Why? Like, God, why? So much of this movie, why? Like, and so the mom and the kid drive after him. He disappears.
Changes her mind and just drifts out into the frozen lake.
Yeah, decides to drive out into the frozen lake and kill herself by sinking the car into it. Like, it... Man, and this is the opening scene, and I'm like, if this is set up for what's about to follow, I am in. Because this is one of those movies that feels like... I don't think this was the case, but it has the same qualities of bad as a movie that has a severe language barrier between the filmmakers, actors, and everybody involved in this.
I can see that.
Like... And this, it's such a weird, it's one of the weirdest mixes of ambitious and jaw-droppingly, what the fuck were they thinking since Dreamcatcher? Like, and Scorsese's name is attached to this, which is like Spielberg's name being attached to Troll 2.
I'm having, like, just waves of, like, yeah, what about this? Oh, no, what about this? Fucking Val Kilmer, I forgot about Val Kilmer.
Let's talk about that, please.
So, is there, like, something wrong with his voice?
Yes, it was dubbed.
No, but what? No, I mean, like, his actual voice. I'm sitting there thinking, like, did he break his jaw right before filming? And, like, they had to wire it, and so they had to, like, dub over it for some reason? Because they didn't even, like, hire a Val Kilmer-y sounding dude. It was just, like, he'd open his mouth and, like, what the heck's going on over here, you guys?
This is a movie that is in theaters and has Scorsese's name attached to it, that has this Val Kilmer flashback that is the same kind of bad as a Steven Seagal USA Network showing where, like,
USA would have at least gotten the lips to match the things coming out of his mouth.
There are literally, like, Steven Seagal movies that have gone direct to video that usually air on USA. Not that USA made it, but they air on there. Where, like, in half the movie, because they couldn't get him back to do ADR work, they have somebody dubbing Seagal. And it's somebody who's not even attempting to try a voice. That is this. Like, Val Kilmer is in this movie 3 times, and he is just slowly turning into Jan Michael Vincent. And
like, again, like you said about cutting the movie down to an hour and a half, there's no reason to show us what Val Kilmer's character's been up to. You could have just told us he was investigating this thing, and then he shot himself in the face. Or did he?
Yeah.
I just summed up, like, half an hour of this movie in 2 sentences.
No, totally. And it's a 2-hour movie. And even beyond that, there seems to be something actually wrong with Val Kilmer.
Yeah, what's wrong with Val Kilmer?
Yeah, like, to the point, like, he is dubbed. There's 2 scenes, he's in 3 scenes, 2 of them he's dubbed. Again, lips barely matching, not even attempting a voice sound alike. And there's another scene with him and Toby Jones where there's no dialogue, and it's just summed up with voices we're hearing on a walkie-talkie, presumably because
the dialogue they used in that wasn't usable for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I'm like, if he is legitimately in that bad a shape, why is he in this? Like, why would you put him in this? And like, and even if you did, and it maybe and maybe he's cast in this and it gets to the point of filming and just something happened. Something happened with his voice and they just still had to shoot it. Even at that, why would you leave that in this movie?
I know. It's like he looked ill. I mean, he was playing like a drunk guy.
Yeah.
But he didn't look drunk. He looked sick.
He was noticeably thinner than the last time I saw him in something. Like, he's got, you know, he's got kind of the same Val Kilmer hair. It's combed back and everything.
But it's like stringy.
Yeah. And it, like, the last time I saw him in anything, he was fine in whatever the last thing I saw him in, whether it was like Port of Call, New Orleans, or like MacGruber or whatever. He still did well, but he certainly got heavier. Like, in this, he is at least like about 150 pounds lighter than the last time I saw him in anything. And you mix that, which, I mean, you know, kudos for losing weight and everything, but like, he didn't look healthy. Yeah,
no, if he's sick, then, you know, then no, not kudos.
I don't mean that. I just mean, like, yeah, in a normal, so in his older movies, he looked like he needed to lose a few pounds.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, he looked like he needed to lose some weight, but not, wow, this was just sad. It was legitimately depressing.
It was upsetting.
Yeah.
And so they kept cutting to, like, poor old Val Kilmer, from, like, Michael Fassbender, and then, like, they'd go to 9 years earlier.
Yeah.
And then they'd cut back to him, like you said, just drunk in the gutter in one scene. This movie didn't know what the fuck it wanted to do.
No, because this movie has a subplot about the World Cup.
Alright, I forgot about that.
Why? Why does this have a subplot about the world? Why is J.K. Simmons going around?
He's holding like a 3-day long World Cup fiesta.
Yeah.
In a friggin' like gigantic dollhouse. And so like every time the cops are like want to go and suspect him of stuff, they just like wander in.
He is just doing creepy stuff out in the open.
Yeah, they've all got like I got little lapel pins with just like 3 blue lights on it that are never explained. Recording devices, maybe?
This movie is really weird with technology.
Yeah, so like they're focused on like these like lappy tops that the cops all have that it like very explicitly explains are fingerprint activated at the beginning of the movie. It's like, okay, I guess we're going somewhere with that. And yeah, we did eventually, I suppose.
Sort of, but it was such an inconvenient thing.
Yeah,
it looked like a giant speak and spell with a screen on it. And later on, Rebecca Ferguson is setting it up like she's going to record J.K. Simmons doing something devious. But this thing is the size of an old trapper keeper. And she's got this massive fucking thing that she just sticks on his bookshelf. I guess praying to God he won't see that sitting there.
Like drape a scarf over or anything. It's just like, doop.
Yeah.
Just a tchotchke, nothing to see here.
And there's another part where like he's the doctor Michael Fassbender is talking to that doctor guy, and the doctor pulls out his phone. He goes, well, I can get you a prescription of this immediately. And Michael Fassbender's like, wow,
what?
You can do that with that phone? Like, stop it. There are so many parts in this movie where things could be wrapped up like that. There's a scene where they're going to Chloe Sevigny's farm, and it's playing the old song Popcorn. And then later on, Michael Fassbender goes back to his place or whatever, and like his painter or a guy dressed up like his painter in a gas mask and a suit
is playing the murder song, and he's like, that's peculiar, get out of my house.
Why would you not think, what? It's the old, like, okay, maybe if you were listening to some top 40 hit that's current, sure. The popcorn, like, okay, that's a big fucking coincidence. Like,
which brings me, sorry, I did want to say, Michael Fassbender is the dumbest smart cop I've seen in a movie in a while.
Yeah.
Because they spent, like, the first half of this movie, like, talking about how awesome he was in his heyday. Like, you were a legend among legends, man. And then, first of all, that popcorn thing fucking happens. Second of all, he's got, like, this little, like, rookie lady cop assistant, and so he's like going, obviously spoilers, he's going to investigate the Val Kilmer thing, and he's like talking to Toby Jones, and Toby's like, oh yeah, you know, he had a daughter, I don't know where she is now. And then he goes back to Val Kilmer's house, and he sees like a book that's described like to Cloudberry, which he knows is his lady cop's password, and then he like finds a picture of what looks like a young lady cop, and then he finds like a rain jacket that says like Catherine in it, and it's like, we fucking get it, and he's like,
yeah, because anytime he figures something out, it has to be handed to him.
Yeah.
Like, because there was the popcorn thing, which is like, why that is clearly the fucking, that is either the killer or someone who, there's no other option than for that to be the killer. Like, so, but then, like, when he does figure out who the killer is, it's because he goes into the guy's house and all the victim's files are laid out in the table in front of him.
Framed photos of Michael Fassbender passed out in the gutter, and he's like having like a Kaiser Soze moment.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I get it.
And it's one of those movies where when you figure out who it is, it's like, yeah, okay, fine.
They had to pick somebody.
Yeah, okay, sure, it's that guy. Why not? And even at the end, where there's this whole confrontation that could have been solved in seconds of Michael Fassbender just shooting that guy in the head. Just because the killer has a couple of people hostage. He has a device that's around the girl's neck.
It's kind of like a shooty piano wire gun where it's like a loop and then you go fzzz, and it goes ka-think. They show it in the preview.
They do, but it's not one of those situations where...
It's like a dead man trigger.
No.
You have to like, he's crank. Zzz.
He might as well have just had a scarf around her neck or something like that and be holding it like that. Like that is how
much... Drop your gun, detective.
That is how much Michael Fassbender could have just shot this guy in the head as soon as he walked in there. But no, it goes into this horribly edited scene where she gets her head out of the thing. Fassbender has his finger off.
I have no idea what happened in that scene.
Neither do I.
It's like, look over there, and then a bunch of stuff happens, and all of a sudden they're free.
Again, it just feels like stuff that was just not shot. Because it's pure luck that the villain even dies in this movie to begin with.
No. That was a cunningly laid Fassbender trap.
Was it a trap, or did that hole just happen to be there?
No. I like to think, because this is why I was leaving the theater just giggling my ass off, because I was envisioning him like running out to the ice, and then really quickly like cutting a hole in it, and then standing like an angle and be like, where are you? Assuming that, first of all, the killer would shoot him immediately because he still has his gun, and then saunter over without actually looking down at the big obvious hole in the ice, and then plummeting into it to his death. You've fallen for my ice trap.
I was glad I was at this movie, because this is just... It's only every couple of years that there is just this mixture of ambition and aliens made this movie. It's flabbergasting. Like, it's not... Of the bad movies that came out this weekend, it's not worse than Medea 2.
I can't imagine.
It's not, because at least in this movie's case, they were trying to make a movie.
Yeah, this movie was goddamn enthralling, if only because you're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, it's stunning. And to give you just a little bit of perspective here, I'm saying all this about this movie, and yesterday I watched Color of Night for the erotic thriller Bruce Willis movie from the early 90s, which in and of it, oh, you would love it. It's great.
You had me at Bruce Willis erotic thriller.
That movie is also like, what the fuck, batshit insanity. But in the context of its own universe, things flow from one thing to another. To a point, they do. Like, if you walk into Color of Night with the mindset that you're going to watch something that's kind of like an Italian giallo flick, Color of Night's kind of awesome. this movie, like, Color of Night, it at least feels like it was made by humans. Like, this movie feels like some crazy alien race, maybe the shit weasels from Dreamcatcher, abducted Michael Fassbender and put him in this, I guess, serial killer movie that has snowmen in it. Like, it's insane. It's God, I'm so glad this movie exists. I've seen like, from the trailers, it looks like this is going to be one of those movies that's like a throwback to when you got movies like this a lot, like, you know, Seven or Kiss the Girls, Bone Collector, and movies like that. As bad as some of those got, like, I didn't care that much for the Bone Collector, really. Seven's great. A lot of them were great, and some would be, like, just kind of not nearly as good as others. I rarely remember one that was as bad as this. So, I don't even know how I would recommend this fucking movie.
I feel bad, because if you're watching, you kind of know what happens now, and the fun of this movie was not knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
But still see it, I think, just because of the snowmen, man.
Yeah.
The snowmen were the best actors in this movie, because like you said, there's like maybe 20 snowmen in this movie, and sometimes they like cut to them for a reaction shot, where like someone will say something portentous, and then you cut to a snowman, he's like, and it made me laugh every time.
Jack Frost makes more sense than this movie. Either Jack Frost, whichever, the horror movie one or the Michael Keaton one. Yeah, I mean, this movie's got a scene where a guy gets the top of his head blown off and they set a snowman head on top of it.
And again, for no one but the audience, because it's like, he gets his head blown off and then he makes a snowman head, sets it on top, and he's got like a coffee bean smile, and then the coffee beans fall off, and it's, oh, that's why there were coffee beans in the picture. None of the actual characters figured that out. That was just for us, in case we were laying awake in bed that night, like, but what about the coffee beans?
Oh, yeah, that was just for us, too, because I mean, that snowman head's gonna melt by the time the cops find that shit. There's such weird editing in this. There's part where a character is talking on the phone. I believe it's supposed to be to the killer, but the killer turns out was in the room, so why didn't we hear the voice of them on the Man, this movie just doesn't know how anything works. There's like creepy philanthropist J.K. Simmons, who is having this back and forth with Rebecca Hall because she's pretending to flirt with him, and he's like a womanizer, so he's doing the same. But he does weird shit, like just take out his cell phone and just click.
This movie has a weird relationship with technology, and we touched on it before, but like cell phones in particular, because there's J.K. Simmons with this telephone thing, because he did that to the random short black-haired woman when the abortion doctor brought her to him to show him her tits. And he's like, click, idiot, and then just walked away. But there's also like the little girl with her cell phone. They're like, the movie makes a very specific point to say her father does not want her to have a cell phone, but her mother lets her have one anyway. It's like, okay, but why? What are you trying to tell us?
Speaking of that little girl, they did not direct her for shit.
Nope.
Because there are scenes where two characters are having a serious conversation, and this little girl is just dancing around them like she's Nell. Like, la 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 la, and they'll have her pop up in the window for no reason. Again, like, this movie just doesn't know how to direct people, or children at least. It doesn't know much about technology, I think. Like,
it doesn't want us to know much about technology.
Yeah, so, if you're curious enough, you've probably already decided whether you want to see this in theaters or not. It's not going to be out for long, because it debuted at, like, fucking number 8. It's getting panned like fucking crazy. It's bad. It's stunningly bad. But I'm so glad I was there. But if you don't have that sick thrill to see these kind of movies that some of us do.
Yeah, don't bring a date. Don't bring like a first date. Like, it'd be funny.
Yeah, let's go see the Snowman. I don't know. Try to pop this up on Netflix because I mean it's ambitious. I'll give it that. Like, I mean it's a weird product. It is. It's just this weird cobbled together mess of ideas and characters, and it's mesmerizing. I'm just speechless talking about this fucking movie.
Yeah, I can't really. I don't have a final thought. Other than
Neither do I.
Fucking Snowman, man.
It is a shitty movie. But if you're curious about it and you
might
don't,
as well go see it.
Yeah, you might as well. Or if you don't want to pay like a matinee price for it, watch it on Netflix as a curiosity because it's it's something.
Okay. There was one positive thing I thought about it. It did a very good job of making me feel cold.
Which is weird because the actors didn't seem cold.
No, they were just like prancing around in like turtlenecks. But I figured that maybe that's like a Norway thing. Norway thing is when it's like waist deep in snow. First of all, no jackets or hats or gloves.
Yeah.
And second of all, interior windows from room to room.
Oh yeah, that threw me off too. But I was like, well, okay. I mean,
it's just like a style choice.
Yeah.
Because like there's the little girl is like a window in that she can see from her room to her mom's room, and she's just like, Mama. And then there was the other house that also had interior windows. So again, maybe it's a Norway thing.
Yeah, like that I could sort of write off as like, well, I don't think they built this house specifically for this film. So I'm like, I'm sure this probably makes sense in this region the movie's taking place in.
Tell us in the comments, Norwegians.
Yeah.
Should we do reviews or previews? Okay, so Molly's Game.
Ooh, Miss Sloane too. No, actually, I like Aaron Sorkin's stuff. That looks like it'll probably be pretty entertaining.
It does look good.
Mm-hmm.
Jigsaw.
Brian and I got a date for that this Thursday. They're showing that shit in IMAX. Like, yeah.
I fucking torture porn. I can't, like, I saw the first Saw, and then I want to say I saw, like, the fifth.
You saw the sixth one. The one that was about healthcare.
Yeah.
That was 6.
They were making a point.
It's good on them.
And then, like, it was a Carrie Elwes and, like, a pig head.
That was the 3D one. I mean, Carrie Elwes is in 1 and he's in 7.
Okay, so then 7 I've seen.
Yeah.
But this seems like it's the same old, like, oh no, I got a bucket on my head and it's gonna murder me.
They're advertising this better than they did, like, most of the other sequels. The other sequels, because they were coming out every year, and each of their trailers were just sort of like, here's some torture shit in the Saw theme playing. Yeah, you'll be there.
Yeah, it's like if you've seen 7 Saw movies, you're probably gonna see the 8th Saw movie.
That's exactly why I'm gonna be there. But, like, the trailer for this is... They put more thought into this trailer and into this advertising than some of the other Saw trailers. There's like Roy Orbison, I think, playing on the soundtrack. Like it's edited together well. Who knows how the fuck that movie's gonna turn out? But hey, I hated Saw 7, so I'm actually glad there's another one coming out.
It's kind of played for laughs too. I know there was a couple parts in the preview that made me giggle because they're in this kind of round room trapped in the sand, and then all of a sudden, like, just saw blades start getting dumped on them. Like Jigsaw's run out of ideas and just decided to just wing sharp things at their head. They're like, eh. Daddy's Home 2.
I went to the bathroom while that trailer was showing. I don't need to see that trailer again, man.
And it was a new trailer because in this one, Marky Mark and Will Ferrell have beef, and this beef's done stirred up by Mel Gibson.
It's new to you. I've gotten that trailer like several times. Yeah, it's the full trailer that shows you way more of the plot of Daddy's Home 2.
Roman J. Israel Esquire.
You know, it's got Denzel in an afro, so I'm down.
It looks good. It also looks like a bummer.
I can't really tell exactly what it's about, but it's like the guy who did Nightcrawler, and I fucking loved Nightcrawler. And this looks kind of intriguing in the same way. Like,
it seems like it's just about like a shitty lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Like a shitty lawyer being charming, doing some shitty things, I think. I can't really tell what this movie's about, but hey, again, it's got Denzel in an afro, so...
Look, he's like fighting for civil rights, but then he's like talking to a room full of people and like trying to walk them through what it's gonna be like to be arrested because they're practicing civil disobedience. And he's like, wait a second, why are the sisters standing and these brothers are sitting down? And the black ladies are like, that is gendered and sexist. He's like, and polite.
And it's polite.
And sexist. And polite.
And polite.
Shitheel. Orient Express.
Oh, I'm excited for that,
really
man.
I love that book so much.
Yeah. I saw, like, I don't know, some magazine or comedy site I probably follow on Twitter or something had the headline, like, is anyone really looking forward to that? And I'm like,
this guy.
Yes.
Well, Agatha Christie is, like, one of my favorite writers growing up. Like, I loved Hercule Poirot in particular, but also Miss Marple and Tommy and Tuppence. I actually, for, like, 6th grade, you had to do a diorama of your favorite book, and I did a diorama of the murder scene in The Murder of Roger Ackroyd.
Nice.
It had like a little gramophone like on the wall. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
I was talking to someone on Twitter, maybe it was Matthew, about how like most people know how that book ends. And first of all, it seems like a lot of people I've talked to don't.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's one of those where even if you know the ending, it's still interesting to watch.
No, totally. And I'm there for any Kenneth Branagh movie, so that's one of the main reasons I would. I think it looks good, but I fucking love Kenneth Branagh movies.
Justice League.
It's that trailer again.
Just so done talking about that trailer.
Although every time it does show Superman in it, which I think is just the one time in that trailer, I'm still looking at his upper lip to see if I can tell how they digitally took out his mustache.
What? I'll have to look for that next time.
I mean, I don't know if that when they had to go back and do reshoots, he had a mustache grown out for...
Shaved it off.
Because he was in the middle of doing some other movie and the other movie wouldn't let him shave it. So he had to perform these reshoots with a mustache and they had to digitally like take it out. So that's it.
Mustachify him.
I'm going to be looking for that so hardcore in that movie.
Darkest Hour.
Oh, the Churchill movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks fine.
And then Thank You for Your Service.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that comes out.
That also
this
looks
weekend.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, that movie looks like... there's nothing about that trailer that really stands out in terms of separating it from other movies that are like that.
I mean, Miles Teller is good.
Yeah, it just sort of looks like, okay, it's one of those movies. Like, it's not, it's cut, the trailer's cut together like you'd think it would. It's hitting the same notes that movies like that usually do, only it doesn't look as gripping as something like The Coming Home or even like American Sniper, especially compared to the trailers for American Sniper, which were really well put together. That just looks kind of like, okay, it's one of these movies.
And then, yeah, Orient Express came out November 10th. I'm excited.
Same here.
That's all we got. The Snowmen.
That's the Snowman.
Sorry, Snowman. I get confused because there were multiple snowmen in this movie.
Snowmans.
Yep.
Alright. Thanks so much everyone in the chat for watching. I don't know if there's anything midweek, but at the least, yeah, Brian and I will be at Jigsaw. See ya.
Bye, guys.
I'm trying to hit end.
Stop.